If we mentor more young people in Africa to have better direction, better guidance, make better decisions, learn the best things, use the best practices, it would help us, because it's those same people who are going to become customers for things that we work on. It's those same people who, because are working on some particular things, are going to ensure that we have less social vices, less people in galamsey, etc. So we have to see ourselves as part of the solution, right? So it's not just about we want to have a lot of competent people and will do a lot of things for us, but we have to see that if we don't contribute to that, it's going to affect what we do. So for me, I think that's what we need to do.
Hello, everyone. My next guest was born in Syracuse, New York, grew up in Kumasi, Ghana, earned his engineering degree from MIT and his master's from Stanford. Then he did something most people don't do after getting those kind of credentials. He went back home, not just to visit, but to actually build. He's the director of the GhanaThink Foundation, a social enterprise that has mobilized thousands of young Ghanaians through over 100 Barcamp events, a national volunteer program, youth mentorship initiative, and digital movements like IMGBT, which stands for I Made Ghana Better Today. He has spoken at the World Economic Forum, the World Bank Diaspora Trade Forum, and Harvard Africa Business Conference. He has worked at Google, advised agribusiness startups, consulted for the World Bank and International Trade Center, and he was named Africa Male Youth of the Year in 2018. But more than his title and institutions, he's someone who generally believes in Ghana's and Africa is a place where people don't have to leave to fulfill their greatest potential. Please welcome Ato Ulzen-Appiah to Africa Capital Connect. Ato, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. For most of your audience, Asante Sana, Ingiabonga, Eshe, because I've blogged about how to say thank you in 23 African languages. I like to do that kind of stuff. But that was a really good intro. I mean, wow, you really picked some great information to share. Really happy to speak with you, Kwame, and share a bit more about some of the stuff that I've been doing, some of the stuff that I believe in. I'm a lot into hashtags, and one hashtag that I use in my circles that would like to push more is good information must spread. Normally, I like to join, podcasts and things like this, just to spread good information. So I'm really excited to talk to you.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you for your time. Let's take it back to where it all started, your entrepreneurship journey. We could talk about your background a little bit, what got you into thinking outside of the corporate America structure and creating something for yourself. What started that journey for you?
So I think for my entrepreneurship journey, I think it kind of started when I was at MIT, because before going to MIT, I grew up on the Kenya University campus. My parents were, senior lecturers. So I did my primary school and high school there. I decided to go to Presec. Maybe I didn't want to stay in Kumasi. I knew I wanted to leave Kumasi and not be away from my parents. That might be some kind of risk thing. That might be entrepreneurial. I don't know. But whilst I was at Presec, I got to learn about MIT as the best engineering school in the world. And there was a role model, Atta Musa, who had gone to Presec that I wanted to follow because he got into MIT. And maybe there was a bit of an entrepreneurial thing there, because growing up, I always felt that I was going to go to KNUST because that's where I grew up, on the university campus. So when I told my mother, for instance, that I wanted to go to MIT, she wasn't really too happy about it. She was like, "Why are you leaving the country?" But anyway, I was quite keen on going to MIT. I was quite ambitious as a teenager, and I think that's also why I wanted to go to the best engineering school in the world. So my dad kind of facilitated a few things, and I was able to go back to Syracuse, where I was born, right after Presec. So I spent a year there. That's where I did my college applications and all of those things. So I didn't have so much support to even do my college applications. It was just my dad. And he really helped me, and God being so good, I got into MIT. And I think that's where my entrepreneurship journey really started. Because whilst I was in Presec, I was part of lots of different clubs. I wasn't spending all my time just studying and trying to get straight A's. I was part of, I debated for the school. I did quizzes for the school. And the great thing is I never lost any of those. Any platform that I presented Presec on, I won everything. So I'd already been like a very versatile student who was doing lots of different things. And I think that kind of lent itself to MIT. I believe that's one reason why I also got into MIT. So I always advise high school students that the most important thing you can be is versatile, not just getting straight A's in school, but being able to do so many things and still doing well in school. So at MIT, I joined a couple of student societies. One was MIT AITI, where students, especially African students, we fundraised around MIT to get money to train MIT students in programming, mostly Java, web programming and entrepreneurship. And then we would fund for the students to go to African countries to go and run a 6-week entrepreneurship and programming related course. So being part of that, gave me the opportunity to learn how to fundraise, work with people, plan different things. And then also as part of MIT East, where we were mostly Ghanaian students. So we would fundraise again in the Boston area and then leverage the money to give scholarships to middle school or GSS kids in Ghana. So those things kind of like made me start to think about building enterprises or building organizations. And whilst in my sophomore year, one of my seniors from Ghana, who also had gone to Presec, Ebenezer Wood, he introduced me to a group called Ghana Conscious. So Ghana Conscious was an MSN group at the time. So this shows how old I am. But this is 2003. So it was a MSN group made up of Ghanaian students who are based in the US, based in the UK, some based in Ghana, around the world. And it was just like many social groups of the time, where people would join to network, meet people. But a lot of those groups would discuss like sex, gossip, those kinds of topics. But our group, because of the kind of people who were in the group, we were a bit more intellectual. So we'll discuss issues around, so from a Ghana and Africa lens, we'll discuss economics, engineering, education, culture, science, etc. And through that group, we would have discussions and come up with solutions to different problems that Ghana and African countries face. But we realized that as we were coming up with these solutions, showing how smart we are and things like that, a lot of these solutions were solutions that maybe like the Ghanaian government has to work on, a certain ministry has to work on, a certain big company has to work on. They weren't solutions that we could work on. It's like we're coming up with solutions for others to suggest to others. So we started to think about what are the things that we can do, because we are young, we have technology, we understand it, we have talent, we have time, and we have treasure. We have some resources that we can also get access to. Right. So the conversations became more of, when we discuss a topic, what can we do to solve it? So one of such topics that we discussed was about Ghanaian languages and how lots of kids born to Ghanaians in the US or the UK especially were not learning how to speak our languages. And then even at that time, we're seeing that in Ghana, because you have some kids go to international schools, there are no environments where they are learning the languages. And so we felt like we're going to lose our languages. So what can we do about it? So we came up with a dictionary project where, so first we did a keyboard where people could just type Ghanaian language characters on Microsoft Word, on a keyboard, on a website, or on a computer. And then we came up with a dictionary where you could come in and translate words in English to Chi, which we started with. And then we added Gan, we added Ever. So it kind of was a hit. A lot of people were coming to the website and using the Ghana, the language dictionary was called Kasa. And then we decided that we would incubate this idea within our group of people. And then that's when GhanaThink as an organization was born. So GhanaThink was born to kind of like mobilize and organize people for the primary benefit of Ghana. And mostly as an organization, it came by when people were working on projects that would be solutions. So we moved from the online dictionary, which was being incubated by GhanaThink, and then it became its own website, and it lives till today, called kasahoro.org. And Kasahoro has done a lot more than that. So it covers so many languages around the continent. And for me, the beauty is that you can translate Twi to Ga. It's not always Twi to English or ever to French, but you can actually translate amongst African languages. So Pakwesi Mbia kind of led that project. And then I also led another, which came out of a discussion around music. So for us, we were always thinking about how can young Ghanaians lead, right? So we're coming up with these solutions. We don't want to think about what the government has to do. We want to think about what we can do. So for 20 years, I've always been saying that we are not the future leaders. There are things that we can lead now in because of the kind of skills that we have. And some of that is technology. Another thing that was happening around 2004 was the top musicians in Ghana were young. We grew up with Daddy Lumba, Kojo Ntwi. They were the top guys. But now, in 2004, the top song in the country was Konkonti Ba by Obuo, who was not that much older than me. And then Samini and Co. So we're like, people leading the music space in Ghana are young people, which is great. We should celebrate that. But what are they singing about? So what are their songs about? They're about love, they're about sex, a lot of them are profane, but can we use the music to develop our country? So we thought about lyrics, that this is what the musicians are saying, and this is, so we used that, but we had to do something that was a bit commercially sustainable. So we came up with a lyrics project. So we'll take all the popular songs, we'll transcribe the lyrics, and we put it on the website. And then we'll take some other songs that are not very popular, but they are around nation building, they are around discipline. There was a song by Obrafo called Nyanchitiapa, which I really loved. It actually became a campaign song for an anti-indiscipline campaign by the government at the time. So we're helping people discover lyrics of their songs that they loved because this didn't exist. And then they could also leverage it to even learn the languages, right? Because if you're listening to a song and you can hear what it's saying, you can also understand how to spell it, and you also learn the languages. Right. So that project, we incubated it for a couple of years, and then I led it, and it became a startup called Museke. So this is kind of like my entrepreneurship story. So that was my first startup, and Museke grew leaps and bounds. So once we moved it out of GhanaThink, which was Ghana focused, we focused on Africa. So we focused on music from all over the continent. We have music from about 45 African countries in our heyday. And we grew to the point where we were the biggest African music website. And we were even able to organize African music awards as well. We did one in New York in 2011. So we grew quite well. And so that was that. And then when I moved to Ghana, so these things that we're working on, especially on the networking side, helped me get a job with Google. So I moved to Ghana in 2011 with Google to work with Google. And at that time, I think I became a bit more enamored with what we're doing with GhanaThink. So we weren't doing so much on the Museke side, so we had to eventually shut the website down. But GhanaThink was an NGO, the kind of stuff that I've mentioned that we were doing. But we decided to make it a social enterprise in 2013. So GhanaThink became an enterprise for me and for those who are involved. So not just an NGO, but a social enterprise, so a business doing social good. So this is kind of what I've done in the entrepreneurship space, and I know we'll talk more about GhanaThink as well.
Absolutely. Quickly, Ato, a lot of people with an MIT degree and a Stanford master's usually stay in the West. So what made you choose Ghana and keep choosing Ghana, especially when the path is probably a little bit harder in Ghana?
Most young Africans who maybe move to the US to study, we don't know so much about other African countries until we move, right? So I was like, and one of the things I loved when I was in middle school was trivia. So I was big on trivia. So I knew all the presidents of the different African countries, the capitals, all of those things. Um, but when I got to MIT, I think I became very Pan-African. Like I just became a lot more patriotic. And I think it's because of how I think it was even because of where I was in Syracuse. Because I'll meet people and they'll be like, do you guys live in trees? Like I met people who said things like that. So I think it really made me want to prove to people around me in the US that we are great. We can do so many great things. We are excellent. We are smart. And like for me, I was trying to go to MIT, which where a lot of the smartest people are. And then another thing that was happening was I think my parents also made me very patriotic. Like my mom, she lectured in textiles and fashion at KNUST. And growing up, she always made us wear African print. That's what we always wore. So even when I went to MIT, I was always wearing African print. Right. Yeah. And then my dad also like, especially spending a year with him in Syracuse before I went to MIT. We would also have conversations about Kwame Nkrumah and like Ghanaians in the US, and so all of those kind of conversations was making me really patriotic. So by the time I went to MIT, I was very patriotic. In fact, as early as that age, when I was a freshman in MIT, people felt I was going to be the president of Ghana because of what I would say on social media, how I would act, how I would dress. I was eating Ghanaian food, things like that. So I think I've like that's been me since MIT. So I always knew that even though I had come, my goal when I was in high school was to come to MIT and study there. I knew that I was always going to come back to Ghana. Like I was not going to spend my life, all my years in the US. But for most people like me in that position, we want to go to the US, study, get a great job, make good money, and then move back. The time that I moved back wasn't that time. I hadn't made so much money. But the reason why I moved back was a couple of things. We had started organizing these Barcamps, which are free networking forums in Ghana, for people to learn, network, share, etc. And these are things that kind of lent itself to what we were already doing in GhanaThink, because we want to mobilize and organize people for the primary benefit of Ghana. So first in 2008, I was at Stanford at the time. So myself and then two other co-founders of GhanaThink, Henry Bano, who was based in, I think, Oakland at the time, and then Pakwesi Mbia, who was based in Zurich at the time. We heard about this event called Barcamps. So bar and camp. So you could Google how the word Barcamp came about, but basically it's an ad hoc user-generated event. It's an on-conference. So unlike most conferences where you would attend and listen to people speak, etc., the Barcamp is the opposite of that, where you can come and speak and share. It's more like a networking event. So we like that idea of an event because it's similar to the discussion forums that we had been doing online, where anyone could come and share on a topic, and then we would all be learning from each other. So we first heard about a Barcamp Africa event because the Barcamp started in the Bay Area, where I was based in the Silicon Valley, and Barcamps were happening around the world. So one had happened in Kenya, one in Mauritius, one in South Africa, that year 2008. So there was a Barcamp Africa that was organized by a few people at the Google headquarters in Mountain View, which I was close to because I was at Stanford. So the three of us decided to go for that event. And for me, to date, it's still one of the best events I've ever participated in. And I don't use the word attend, I use the word participate, because I was able to participate in the event. I was able to share, talk about stuff that I'm doing, talk about things that I know about, and that made it like a really great event for me. So we decided to do the first one in Ghana in December 2008 with a similar idea. And the main idea was to network young Ghanaians in the US and other countries and young Ghanaians in Ghana. But also looking at what kind of startups are young Ghanaians abroad running? What have they been able to run based on what is available to them? And what startups are young Ghanaians in Ghana running? So that was kind of the idea we were playing with for the first Barcamp. It was quite successful. We had about 150 people. It was a free event at the Kofi Annan ICT Center in Accra, and Barcamps have been free since then. So, kind of seeing that kind of energy was very exciting for me, right? And then the next year, in 2009, we had a similar event, but this time for young Ghanaians in the US. And we had it in at the John Hopkins SAIS. It's their school for, I think, international studies in DC. And we chose that place because we know a lot of Ghanaians around the DMV area, and it would be easy for people to come from New York and other parts of the US. And when we were having that event, a lot of the people we were trying to select as keynote speakers, so people to come and inspire young Ghanaians, they were people who didn't live in the US. So for me, I was like, a lot of the people that we are looking up to, they don't live here. They live on the continent. That's where they are making things happen. And also around that time, I had started to think about Google, because Google for me was a dream company that I wanted to work for because of what I was doing on the website and other digital things. So I was thinking about like first working with their construction team. I actually had the opportunity to work on a project whilst I was at Stanford at Google. And then I started to think about localization because of the work we were doing with the music and the African languages. Then I started to think about maybe product management with Gmail and Google Maps. And then I realized that Google had started creating offices on the continent. So when we had our first Barcamp, Estelle Soa, who was the CEO of Busy Internet, was one of the keynote speakers. In 2009, she had become the country director for Google in Ghana. So it's like, okay, wow, Google is in Ghana. So I started to think about maybe I could just go to Ghana to work for Google. So these are the key things that made me move back. I could have moved back later because I spent 10 years in the US. I could have moved back after 20 years. But these are the key things that made me move back. And I've never regretted moving back. And I've always said that, like, if you're going to make me move from Ghana, you have to make me a millionaire. That's the only way it's going to happen.
Now, these Barcamps, are they still prevalent in the US and Ghana and Africa? Are they still going on?
Yeah. No, so the Barcamp is just like an event format. So it's a bit like TED, right? It's just that you don't have one organization that manages all Barcamps like one organization manages TED.
Got it.
So Barcamps still happen all over the world, in the US, in Asian countries, but in Africa, we took it personally, to borrow a term from one of our GhanaThink members, because we realized what we could use the Barcamps to do. So there are many people who have started Barcamps in like Cameroon, Togo, South Africa, Kenya. The guys who did it in Nigeria came to our Barcamp to learn from us before they did it. But because of our vision and because of our mission of mobilizing and organizing talent for the primary benefit of Ghana, and our vision of building a critical mass of young people who are patriotic, passionate, positive, proactive, progressive, and most importantly, productive. That's our vision. So basically, our vision is to have like more than 2.33 million young Ghanaians who are great. That's our vision.
Right.
That's what we are working towards too. So the Barcamps allow us to get there. That's why we've continued to do them. And we've organized 150 Barcamps since we started all over Ghana.
That's interesting. So these Barcamps, for Ghana, you made it personal, as if, was there a name to it that you tied to your business? And how were you benefiting from these Barcamps if it was a free program? What were you utilizing it to get to? And
Sometimes I wish we didn't call it a Barcamp, but I mean, at the time, it was like we were doing Barcamps in Ghana. So we kept the name, just like what everyone uses around the world. So, for instance, we have 12 bar camps that we organize in Ghana. So we have bar camps in Accra, Kumasi, Tamale, Takrady, the 10 regional capitals we had, plus Tema and Kaswa. When we say we made it personal, most bar camps around the world focus on tech because it came from Silicon Valley. It's mostly for people who are programmers, techies. And when we had our first few ones, we were focusing on technology, entrepreneurship, leadership, which we've continued to focus on. But we also realized that we had most of the people who were coming to the bar camps were men. We're not getting a lot of women to come because it felt like an IT event. So we intentionally moved away from that. So we focus more on entrepreneurship and leadership. And on the technology side, we look at how people use technology and not so much people building apps. So how do makeup artists who are mostly women use Instagram? How do small businesses use Facebook to market what they are doing? How do events people use Facebook events? How do people who are advocating for something use Twitter? Right. So we started, and how do people use Google Workspace, etc. So that's what we've really focused on so far as technology is concerned. So we've kind of personalized it. And then also for most Barcamps, they are very ad hoc. But we had to introduce maybe panel discussions every now and then in our Barcamps because people are used to that in Ghana. Right. But there are several things that we do that are very different from events in Ghana. And thankfully, some people have copied what we do, which is great because we are trying to change the country. We are not trying to compete with people per se. We want people to learn best practices and implement them in whatever they are doing so that we can all be better.
that's interesting. So with the bar camps, right? I know you guys have ran over 100 events since 2008. And I hear that there's no alcohol at these events. You guys removed alcohol. You removed the hierarchy.
You've really done your research, man.
You remove the hierarchy and then adding, adding strangers to this. What is it about that model that consistently seems to produce something most networking events fail to deliver?
Okay, so let me come to the alcohol bit. So the way we like to talk about bar camps is, let's say me and you and 10 other folks have gone to a bar in Accra. One of my favorite bars in Ghana is Republic, and Republic, they've actually partnered us on Barcamps, so I'll love to mention their name. So let's say we went to Republic, and I ordered Kokroko. Do you have any drinks that you've ordered there before?
No, I don't even know what
Okay.
Coca-Cola
What
is.
do you normally order when you're in Ghana?
I don't know, man. Palm wine.
Okay, that's fine. No, let's go with palm wine. So I order Kokroko, you
Okay.
order palm wine. Some other people, they don't drink alcohol, so they order Malta Guinness. Some other people order Origin, etc. We would have some conversations whilst we are together
Okay.
over drinks, right? And especially in the US, people know that when alcohol is involved, people are really free to share and they talk about everything that they want to talk about. So that is the idea of a bar camp for us, right? So the bar camp is like we've camped at a bar, but it doesn't happen at the bar. There's no loud music, there's no alcohol, but it's that spirit, it's that atmosphere that we bring into the event where people are willing to share with people that they don't even know. Like they're just meeting, they're just networking with them. So, and they are open about it and they are trying to learn. And we discuss things that are topical issues, things that really matter to us. So that's the idea of a Barcamp. And that's how we like to talk about it.
So how did we transition from the bar camp to GhanaThink? Or GhanaThink was already there, and then the bar camp was kind of underneath it. Like, how did those two mesh together?
So GhanaThink was already there. And then we organized the first Barcamps and they were becoming quite popular. So people were actually calling us Barcamp Ghana. And for me, as as a leader of an organization, we wanted people to understand that these are the people behind Barcamp, the Barcamps. And Barcamp Ghana is not an organization. So we actually had to spend a number of years intentionally branding and promoting GhanaThink for people to get to know that Barcamps are under GhanaThink. So GhanaThink was there, Barcamps became popular, and we made people understand. And the other thing that helped us was once we started working on things that were not Barcamps, then it made GhanaThink grow. So now the Barcamps are mostly for 18 to 35-year-olds. So once we started doing something for high school students who are younger than 18 called Junior Camp, it made GhanaThink grow. Once we worked on the National Volunteer Day, which is September 21st, where we basically encourage lots of thousands of people in Ghana to volunteer around that period, then GhanaThink also grew. So that's what we had to do to kind of make GhanaThink, make people understand that that's the organization. Barcamp Ghana is a program. Barcamp Accra is a brand and event, etc.
So you build GhanaThink as a social enterprise rooted in both Ghana and US. Is it part of the US or is it just strictly for Ghana?
Yeah, no. So we are actually registered in the US as a 501c3.
Okay.
And then we also registered in Ghana as well. So we had been operating as a not-for-profit or an NGO when we started. And then sometime in 2013, we were hearing a lot about social entrepreneurship. Personally, I was part of a Global Shapers community, which is run by the World Economic Forum. And I had a chance to go to the World Economic Forum event in Cape Town. That was in 2013. And I was part of a couple of sessions on social entrepreneurship. So actually, after experiencing that and coming back to Ghana, I started to have a lot of conversations with our guys about social entrepreneurship. So we decided to switch from being an NGO to a social enterprise where we operate more like a business, but working on social good. So apart from having beneficiaries for the different things that we are doing, we have customers, we have clients, we have partners, and we make money from them. We don't make money from donors and sponsors. So even in how we approached the Barcamp Ghana program, we had to, be intentional about certain things. We started, instead of going out to look for sponsorship, we'll go out to look for partnerships. So it's just that some of our partners pay us or they give us money. Some of the partners give us in kind, like they give us discounts on all our lunch, or they come and cover our photography for free. They cover our videography for free. We get a free venue. Some of our partners give us products that we can give to some of our participants. So that's kind of how we built it, and we've continued to do that, whereby we focus more on. So another thing is, let me take a company like Google. So before we became a social enterprise, Google would sponsor us because we are impacting young people, in Ghana. We are bringing people together who they want to impact and engage. But once we looked at it from a partnership perspective, we were getting money from them because we want to help them meet business goals, whereby if they partner us, they will get this many more people building Android apps, or they'll get this more people who are becoming Google Map advocates. So that's how we looked at it. So on the partnership side, we are helping you meet business goals, and it's not just that you're giving us money because we're making impact. For a lot of the partners, that's what they want to sponsor us that way, but we look at it more deeper than that.
Do you find any issues with working with some of these companies as far as meeting their objectives, being one thing versus what your goal and objective is for GhanaThink, and not meeting at the same place?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's why it's a partnership as well, right? So by the time they are coming in to partner with us, we have discussed what we are trying to do together. So then it doesn't become a matter of this is what they are trying to push, and we have to do that for them. So we normally suggest that based on what we are doing with the Barcamps, this is what we want to do for them. And then they agree to that. And then they pay the money or they give us whatever, we've asked for. So that also differs per organization. So for instance, we've had partners who are hotels. And the way they partner us is that they give us free rooms or they give us discounted rooms for people who are traveling to the location for the Barcamp, mostly team members. And the other thing for them that we've seen, especially in places outside Accra, is that the hotels, they want foot traffic, right? They know that people in Wa might not come and spend nights there, but they want people to be coming through to use their restaurant, to come and use their services. So we help the hotels promote and market that. So that's why they'll give us free rooms. And then for some companies, they are giving us money because they know that a lot of the people who come to the Barcamps are tech savvy and they are digitally inclined. So they want to engage those people to get feedback about the product that they have in the market or a product that they are trying to bring into the market. Lots of companies engage us because they just want people to use their products that they have. And then also because we do a lot of social media, because most people hear about us through social media. We don't really do traditional media. We are very big on Twitter. Like most of our Barcamps trend on Twitter in Ghana when we have them because we use Twitter a lot, or X. So lots of companies also partner us because if they do, people at the Barcamp would amplify their brand on social media. So we look at the different companies differently and then tell them that this is what we can do for you. And then that's how they decide to partner with us.
Okay. And most of these partners, are they US based companies or are they Ghana based companies?
So when we started out, I think you can imagine that this is not something Ghana companies will support because the things that they sponsor is beauty pageants, sports shows, entertainment events. So we knew that they were not really going to sponsor us. So we targeted companies that have their headquarters in the US or are innovative thinking. So that's how we got Google, for instance. That's how we got Well Bank, for instance, and a few others. The other way that we grew from day one was our network. So we leveraged people who knew us, like who knew me, Ato, knew Henry, knew Shirley, knew Nee, knew Kwesi. And we spoke to them about what we're trying to do. And then they were our first sponsors. Yeah, because we needed to get like some sponsors to prove the concept before we could go to some of the other businesses that are well known. So a lot of these businesses were people who are forward-thinking businesses based in Ghana, other businesses that are from abroad that are also operating in Ghana. Those were the first ones that we worked with. And then gradually as we grew, we've been able to get a lot more businesses who are based in Ghana. But even most of the ones that we've had as our partners is still based on our network. It's based on people who have come to our Barcamps, seen what we've done, seen that it's great, and then we can go and talk to their company, and then they decide to work with us. But the good thing is, for doing this for so many years, there are several entrepreneurs who, when they were 21, 22, came to Barcamps and now run successful businesses that we go back to and also support us. So that's how we kind of do this.
No, that's great, because my question was going to be, someone watching this right now is thinking to themselves, getting a partner, getting a sponsorship, got to be the hardest thing to do, right? You're talking about Google, you talk about World Bank. What is the process of trying to get these sponsorships? Is it just an email, a letter? But to your point, you guys have a lot of network that you've built of people who've either been in the Barcamp before and they go back and talk to your company about it. But what about the other way around, where you have no networking or no prior relationship with these companies? How are you getting those sponsorships?
So let's come back to MIT. I studied civil engineering at MIT, but since I moved back to Ghana, I say I'm doing social engineering. So most of the things we do within GhanaThink, like, it's engineering. We try to be very smart about things that we are doing. So we don't send cold calls or cold emails to organizations because we have this much time and we're going to put in this much effort for really big success. So we only approach organizations that we think would listen to us. So I always tell my team, and I'm happy to even mention that here, that we don't want to have 3 meetings with the organization before they decide to partner us. So we are very, very strategic, and we are very strategic in how we do our events, how we operate, how we look for partnerships, because we want to do things easily. We want to do things with data. We want to do things based on how we've done stuff. So even for instance, like we can organize an event and be sure that we're going to have 300 people, not 200, not 400, just based on how we work with data, how we learn from what we've done as well. So I always tell my team that we are doing engineering.
One thing I wanted to ask you about, right, was the MIGBT, right, which stands for I Made Ghana Better Today. It's simple, it's brilliant idea. How do you turn a hashtag into a genuine culture of accountability rather than just a social media performance kind of thing? Like, how do you make that into something that's really rooted into what we're doing?
So I'll tell you quickly how it started. So when I moved back to Ghana and I was with Google, one of the GhanaThink co-founders, Pakwesi Mbia, he had been with Google before. And he was also based in Zurich, but he was coming to Ghana a lot to do Google-related work. So one day we went to Musiga, the Musicians Association of Ghana, because we were trying to get them to use some Google tools. And at the time, Obuo, I think, was even the president of Musiga. So after we were done with that meeting and we were leaving, Pakwesi, or PK, as we affectionately call him, said that, like, he's made Ghana better today. Because we came to talk to Musica folks about how they could use Google tools to make Musica and the music industry better. So, like, that's a very interesting thing that he said. So we're like, yeah, what can we do to make Ghana better today? What are other things that we can do? So the driver who was with us, Ali, who became a very good friend of mine, was part of this discussion. So I think later on that year, normally he would be driving me home. So he would come and pick me up from where I was living in East Legon, bring me to work, bring me back. So one day we were going home and we're thinking about this I Make Ghana Better Today thing. We're like, what can we do to make Ghana better? And we both suggested that let's stop at a trotro stop and pick 3 people who are going towards East Legon and give them a free ride. So we did that and we're like, yes, I made Ghana better today. So when I started driving, I continued to do the same thing. Like if I was driving somewhere, I would just stop at a trotro stop, normally close to where I'm driving from. I'll fill the car, but normally the thing is, the caveat is that they have to be going towards where I'm going, right? So I did that a lot, but I'll say since COVID, I've done it so much. In fact, I've lost count how many people I pick every year. And I'm sure last year I picked like 300, 400 people. And I don't do it only in Accra. Like if I'm driving alone in Takoradi, I do it. If I'm driving alone in Kumasi, I do it. In fact, it's even gotten to the point that sometimes if I'm taking a Bolt, because maybe I don't have my car, I'll intentionally pick people in the Bolt and then, take them. So these are the things that kind of gave birth to I Made Ghana Better Today. And because we like social media, it's a hashtag.
Right. No, that's amazing. But someone listening to this might say to you, Ato, are you concerned with safety when you do that?
No, definitely. So, I mean, obviously, my wife and others are concerned about safety. So, I mean, what I've done, and there are several people that I've tried to pick who said they wouldn't go because they were afraid. Yeah, so I'm definitely concerned about safety. But I think I'm a religious person. But above being a religious person, being a Christian, I believe in good karma. So one of the major reasons why I even do this is good karma. I just believe that if I help people, people are going to help me. And the God who watches above me is also going to ensure that I'll be safe. So I think there have been, I think there were a couple of times that I was trying to pick people and too many people rushed to the car. And I was like, okay, you guys relax. But mostly, it's been cool. And obviously, like if I try to pick people and they say they won't go, that's fine. But yeah. So I think God keeps me.
Because when you were talking about this whole hashtag, I made Ghana better today, like I was thinking like, what are you guys doing to actually do this, right? Is there any other examples you guys are doing? Because I think this is really fascinating. My brain would have not gone to doing something so simple like this, picking up folks at the station and helping them out. What else are you guys doing as far as?
So I'll use that to talk about our National Volunteer Day because this idea came before the National Volunteer Day. So National Volunteer Day is something we started in 2013, but before that, in 2012, Ghana had an election, just like the US, because our election years are the same as the US election years. And myself and a few people were having conversations about the people who are running for president in Ghana, the people who are running for MP. Like, we don't think they are really great leaders. But these are the guys we have to vote for. We don't have a choice, right? And in the US, we could see Obama. And we're like, Obama inspires people to act. Like, that is one great trait of a great leader. So we were discussing that what if our president said that on a certain day, everybody in Ghana should go and volunteer, help other people. And we're thinking that that's not something our president would ever say that we should do because they are not that kind of leader. So after the election happened in 2012, we were thinking about, we are going to do this ourselves. We are going to pick a day and we're going to ask Ghanaians to go out to volunteer. And we picked September 21st because that was the day that celebrated the founders of Ghana who had done something for Ghana. They had created the country or given birth to the country or, delivered us from the British, gotten independence. So our thought was, we'll use that same day to also do something for Ghana, but we'll do it in our own small way, just by volunteering to help people. So that first National Volunteer Day, it came from the whole IMGBT idea, right? But a lot of people wanted to volunteer in groups. So the two biggest activities we had for the first National Volunteer Day, we had Kukua Manfo, who got about 40 people to join her. She was an architect. So she had some other architects and people join her to build a playground for a school in Medina in one weekend. So they all volunteered to do it. And then Eleanor Asare, she got about 60 people to join her to paint a school in one weekend. So what we did as GhanaThink was we held the people who were organizing their volunteer activities get volunteers based on people who had come to the Barcamps, etc. So that's what we continue to do. So we match volunteers to volunteer opportunities. And we have different organizations, NGOs like Rotary Clubs, Lions Clubs, that organize volunteer activities. So every National Volunteer Day, some of these clubs do something during that period. It's become national. So people look forward to doing that period. This is how they're going to volunteer. When COVID hit, people couldn't really congregate because we had lockdowns and people were at home. So we started to think about how can people volunteer in their small corners instead of joining 5 other people, 10 other people to volunteer. So we started to think about blood donations. You can go to a hospital during National Volunteer Day and donate blood by yourself. You can help a child in your neighborhood to read a book by yourself. You can help an elderly woman wash her things by yourself. So these are small things that people can do to make Ghana better today.
No, that's excellent. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ato. I read somewhere that National Volunteer Day is now part of the official Ghana Volunteer Program.
Yeah. So the Ghana Volunteer Program is also by GhanaThink. So after the success of the first National Volunteer Day, then we created a Ghana Volunteer Program to house that. Yeah. So we wanted to have we have different programs so that it didn't stand alone. So actually what we've even done with GVP is we basically match volunteers to volunteer opportunities. So now it's not just about the September 21st period. Like even next week, if you're organizing a volunteer activity and you need volunteers, you can talk to us and we'll help you get volunteers. So that's what we do. Because we have a lot of people in our network who wants to volunteer. They understand the benefits of volunteering and they've seen what volunteering has done for other people, right? So people reach out to us saying that, oh, we are organizing a reading clinic, we need volunteers. Or people reach out to us and saying that they are looking for volunteer opportunities and then we do the matching. So that's what the GVP is.
So what's your vision for GhanaThink, right? Because I feel like you have a lot of umbrellas underneath the tree. What direction are you going with GhanaThink? Where do you ultimately see it in the next couple of years? What's the vision for GhanaThink for you?
So our vision again is to build a critical mass of young people who are great. But there are different characteristics that we want these young people to have. And that's where our 6 P's comes in. So we want these young people to be patriotic, people who love their country, support it, support made in Ghana products, made in Ghana businesses, intentionally support the things that we are building. Because if we don't do that, our business are going to struggle to really grow. Like we have to intentionally support our business. So that's something that we drive a lot through GhanaThink. We also want these people to be passionate. So passionate about what they are doing. Because passion would, it's the kind of fuel, is the kind of vim, is the kind of energy that would make people really decide to work on something and stay true to it to make it work. We also look at positive because a lot of the times we complain a lot about things in Ghana. And yes, there are several problems that people complain about, but we want people to be positive. So being positive means that how can we be part of the solution for the thing that we are complaining about, right? So we want people to be positive because that positivity will also lend towards solving lots of different things. And then proactive is one key word that we look at because especially in Ghana, and when we started our Barcamps, we realized that so many Ghanaians are shy. If you compare us to some of our neighbors, I won't mention the name in the sub-region, we are quite shy, right? So we want people to be more proactive. And proactivity comes in volunteering. It comes in, there's an issue in our neighborhood, the government hasn't solved it. What can we do together to solve this issue if we can? And then progressive. I mean, we are a very conservative country due to religion and culture and different things, but we believe in being progressive, right? We can't continue to have the same traditions and customs that sometimes hold us back, continue to manifest. We have to grow our culture and see it metamorphose. But most importantly, Kwame, we want young Ghanaians to be productive. That's the most important thing because we can't be in a country where we have people building businesses and we can't find enough Ghanaians to hire who are competent. We can't find solutions that Ghanaians have built that are quality. So this is our vision. And we have, normally the youthful population in Ghana is about 9 million based on how our population grows. So the 18 to 35-year-olds. And we are just looking at having a quarter, about 25% of this 9 million people. If they are the kinds of things that I've just mentioned, our country will change forever. So again, because of branding Ghana, we are looking at 2,330,000 people, which comes from 233, our country code. So if we can have this number of young Ghanaians who are these 6 Ps, We are going to vote for better leaders. We are not going to be influenced by bad people. We are going to build great businesses. We are going to be great candidates and employees for great Ghanaian businesses. We are going to support our own. So this is our vision. And we believe that if we get there, the country will change forever for the good.
So of all these P's you mentioned, patriotic, passionate, positive, proactive, progressive, productive. What are the challenges in achieving all those P's, and which ones are the most difficult that you're finding?
I'll say the most difficult one would probably be, let me give you two. I think patriotic and productive. And the reason why patriotic is hard is we've been working on these Barcamps and working on what we've done for GhanaThink for many years. And we are seeing that some people who are very patriotic or giddy about Ghana, they don't see the country making so much progress, and they are checking out of that kind of thinking, right? So like they were very positive about, yeah, let's do this. And now they're like, now it's been 10 years and the same issue still exists. So they're like, forget it. So I'll say that is very difficult. But I think even on the patriotic side, the media is doing a lot to push patriotism in Ghana. I think you might have heard of the Ghana Month that happens in March. So, whereby, I mean, this March, so many people were wearing Ghana jerseys, So I think people are doing stuff. I mean, we are a small organization. I mean, we have 27,000 people who have come to Barcamps, but we still don't have the reach that the media has. So it's great to see some institutions, especially like CTFM, who we partner with a lot because they believe in what we do. So they give us free interviews all the time, pushing the patriotism. I'll say productivity is also very hard because building competence is not easy. And people need the opportunity to also build competence, like intern in different businesses, volunteer in different places, etc. So I'll say that is also quite hard to do. Yeah, so those are the two I'll mention.
So one of the things I read is that your Ghanaian dream, which is a hashtag campaign, envisions, right, a Ghana where Ghanaians don't need to travel anywhere else to fulfill their greatest potential. How close are we, and what's the single biggest structure barrier for us to achieve this?
I'll talk about this by talking about my role model, which is Patrick Ewua, who is the founder of Ashesi. And he believes in this idea about my Ghanaian dream because he has mentioned it at a couple of Barcamps that, he's been to Barcamps in the past. And the reason why this is my version of the Ghanaian dream is because a lot of people joke that the Ghanaian dream is to leave Ghana. Right? Yeah. So a lot of people want to leave Ghana because they feel that they can't make as much money in Ghana. The kind of thing that they've chosen to do, they can't do it so well in Ghana. Let's say they want to go to space and we don't have a great space program. So my Ghanaian dream is a Ghana where people feel that no matter what they want to do for their lives, they can fulfill that potential in Ghana. Fine, they might need to travel to study somewhere and come back and fulfill it in Ghana. They might need to travel to go and meet some businesses somewhere for investment. But the case whereby whatever they want to do, they feel like they can live in Ghana and do it, that's my Ghanaian dream. So the things that we need to see, obviously the government has to play a major role. But for what I've seen in the last 30 or more years that we've had democracy, unfortunately, I just think our government underperforms and they continue to underperform. And even though I think this current government is doing better than the one before, I don't have a lot of belief that our government will solve our problems for us. That's just me. So again, for the last 20 years, especially since we've been working on GhanaThink, we want to help solve our problems. We don't want to leave it to the government. And I believe that we can do a lot in our corners, in our circles, in our communities, in our centers to make this happen. And that is where private sector comes in. So even if you think about the patriotic bit, like we need to support more of our businesses for them to become much, much, much bigger so that they can force the governments to do better things for us and also have the money to even contribute to infrastructure that the government is not doing. So we can talk all day about what the government needs to do, but I want to focus on what the private sector and what we as citizens must do, because we are part of the solution. And if we build, if we build ourselves together, we build our communities together, we work on different things together, we can then force the government to do better. And the government cannot, all the bad politicians cannot ignore us because we have so much capacity, we have so much influence, we have so much, we have power. Because for me, the thing the government has that most people don't have is power. And if we're able to kind of build that power because we have influence and like people would listen to us and do the best things. Because one example is when a lot of young people in Ghana don't have jobs, they go and blame the government. They're like, I don't have a job. It's the government's fault. I want that thinking to change. If you're a young person and you don't have a job, it's not the government's fault. You're just not productive enough. And we don't have enough businesses where you can get into. And the reason that is happening is because we are not supporting our own to grow, and we are shipping a lot of things outside. So that's the kind of mentality I want us to have. For us, I talked about how we were an NGO and we became a social enterprise. So our goal every year is to be able to raise more money. Because if we raise more money, we can impact a lot more people, but also have a better experience and product for our beneficiaries. So for instance, since before COVID, we used to have, even for a place like, I think we used to average about 120 people at our Barcamps across the country, because there are some places that we would have bigger numbers, there's some places that will have smaller numbers. But let's say 120 to 150 people. Now we average 300, right? So we've intentionally focused on trying to do that. And in order to do that, we have to raise more revenue. So we've, I think a couple of years ago, we were able to get some grants that gave us like $67,000. Some gave us $100,000. So in increasing our revenues over the course of the year, we're able to do a lot more. The other thing that we've seen, especially for how we've built what we are doing, is how many businesses in Ghana partner us, right? So we have, obviously our budgets have gone up. So the amount of money that we ask for our partners has also gone up. But when we have a Barcamp in WA and we are able to get 4 companies based in WA, right, to give us at least 1,000 cities, it means that the whole ecosystem and the whole market is growing. If they are giving us this 4,000 cities, that also means that the money that we would have raised from the bigger organizations can go further. So that's something that we've always continued to do, because we look at this from a very localized perspective. We have Barcamps in Tamale, in Wa, in Sunyane. Part of the reason why we do these events is we want to prove to young people in Sunyane that they can succeed there. They don't need to move to Kumasi to succeed. They don't need to move to Accra to succeed. So when we are getting mentors for our Barcamp Sunyane, the mentors are based in Sunyane. They don't come from Kumasi. They don't come from Accra. So similarly, when we are funding the Barcamps and we get the money locally, we are proving to everybody that there are companies in Sunyani that believe in some of these things and are willing to put money into it. And they can only put money into it because they are also successful and they have some disposable income to give. So I think that's something that show how, we've seen growth, not just for us at GhanaThink, but in the bigger picture as we try to improve the country.
So Ato, one other question. So for Ghanaians and Africans abroad watching this right now, right, who want to contribute, don't know how to start, where to start, what is that one thing you could tell them to do this week to actually, that actually matters? What is that thing?
So from the GhanaThink side of things, obviously I would ask that they check out our social media. So we are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and trying to understand what we do. For us, we are always looking for people who are trying to engage young people in Ghana. So if you are trying to get a virtual, you're trying to get an assistant, you are trying to get like a really competent web developer to build something for you. You are trying to find someone to help sell something for you in Ghana. You are trying to get feedback on the product that you are building. Talk to us because we are building a big network of these young people and we want to get them opportunities. And we also believe that the network that we are building, they are not your average young University of Ghana student, right? Because they are tech savvy, they are hardworking, they are driven. Because of the way we do what we do, it's young people who really want to do something for themselves, who are really trying to grow, who are not going to complain and say that because I don't have a job, it's the government's fault. These are the kinds of people who are in our network. So, and that is pretty much how we even engage our partners. This is what we sell to them. We tell them that we are congregating this group of great Ghanaians, and if you engage them, it's going to be great for your business. So it's the same thing for people abroad who might be trying to do stuff with young people in Ghana. On the financial side, I've already mentioned that we mostly focus on our clients and our partners, and we've also had some grants. And especially as we grow our organization, we realize that we can make a lot more money from grants, right? We've gotten money from businesses like Petra, Holland, ExpressPay, Haptel in Ghana, but we can get some big amounts from grants. So anything that has to do with young people in Ghana, youth empowerment, we would love to talk to people about how we could partner to work on a grant, get a grant, etc. So if there's anything that people in Ghana can benefit from, we want to be your plug to get to people in Ghana, to get to young people in Ghana. And this is all over the country, not just Accra, Kumasi, Takoradi, Tamale. We actually have communities in 31 locations in Ghana. So 31 towns in Ghana where we have some kind of a presence that we can do things in. So I'll say those are the key things. Also, we do have communities outside Ghana.
Right. That was going to be my next question. Like if you try to expand beyond.
If you just check out Diaspora Camp, we actually, even though we are Ghana, we are trying to do things outside Ghana as well. So we have communities in Lagos, in Nairobi, in Joburg, in Kigali, and some other places on the continent. And then outside Africa, we have communities in Berlin, Beijing, 6 different places in the US, London, Toronto, Melbourne. So no matter where you are, and especially for what we are doing with Diaspora Camp, we want to connect Africans everywhere. And what we are trying to do is, I talked initially about how we started to get funding for the Barcamps. So we believe, and I'll say that we highly work with the government, and we've not gotten money from the government because, to borrow something that you were alluding to, we don't want to deal with bureaucracy, deal with corruption, deal with non-ethical things. We don't want to. We want to do things in a way that is what we want to see. and we are doing it. We don't make any excuses. So similarly, a lot of the people that have supported us have been people who are abroad because we can't really get that much support locally, right? So if you understand and you appreciate what we are trying to do, we would definitely love your support, donations. So we have ways for people to donate to us. It's just something that we don't push it so much because we are trying to focus on building the business. But people can donate to us as well, mostly through PayPal and other ways that are also possible. Yeah. So actually, even for our National Volunteer Day and our Ghana Volunteer Program, we've mostly used donations to drive that because some of the things that we run is more difficult to make a business case to our partners. So for the volunteer staff, we mostly work with donations. But for Barcamps, our Comseco program is our training program, which is an easier sell than when we work with our partners and companies and organizations.
Okay, no, that's great. You've dropped a lot of great gems today. Before we move into our rapid fire questions, which will probably get us to the end of the interview, I wanted to ask you: is there anything important that we didn't discuss that we probably should have discussed on this conversation?
I'll say best practices. I mean, I've done a lot of work in the entrepreneurship space in Ghana and on the continent. I think would love to see more startups, and especially even for Barcamps, a lot of entrepreneurs come. So it's similar, and we would love to see more of our startups grow outside the countries that they are in. We have different challenges that because due to regulation, due to policy, due to capital, etc., it's quite difficult for folks to be able to do this. So for me, we have to intentionally support our own. Like I don't see how else we can do this, right? And in doing so, that also means that we have to help increase the addressable markets that our businesses can address. Sometimes the markets are just too small, right? Because people don't really patronize what we are doing. So we need to do that. And then we also need to see some more consortiums and some more mergers so that we can get bigger businesses that can compete better locally and internationally. One of the things I really love is to see franchise businesses in Ghana these days. Even if you just take Osu, there are several businesses in Osu, hospitality businesses, that have now opened branches in East Legon, right? You could say it's happening because people have more money to spend, but I think it's happening because you have more business people who are trying to grow. And they are interested in growing. I think too many of our businesses in the past were not interested in doing that. So once we have that kind of interest, we have that kind of drive, we have that kind of ambition, then we can get and invite capital to come and support that. So we can, and a lot of the capital is going to come from abroad. We still know because a lot of rich Ghanaians don't want people to know they are rich. unlike unlike another West African neighbor whose name we won't mention. so, so like we need to be intentional about things, and like it's not just talking about it. We have to start acting. You have to start acting. Like we have to just try and act. I think the good thing is that one of the best things we have in Ghana is we have little degrees of separation. Like people tend to know each other very well. So if we come together to do stuff, it could work. And I think this is something that all African communities in our cultural neighborhood can learn from. Right? We need to try and punch above our weight. We need to try and punch above our weight. And we need, when I say we, please take the government out. It's the people, the citizens.
We talk a lot about investing in opportunities. Let me talk about a different kind of investment for a second. Your health is your highest return on investment. That's why I created a brand called BoAction. We make Vestly Pro adjustable weighted vest, currently on Amazon. The vest adds up to 35 pounds to your body weight, including wrist and ankle weights. If you're serious about investing in your health and not just your portfolio, and you want to support this channel and what we're building, Please check out the link in the description below. Every purchase goes directly into keeping these conversations going. Thank you very much for your support. So let's get into the rapid fire questions. These are going to be questions I'm going to ask you real quickly. Just whatever comes to your head, respond to it accordingly. Biggest win so far for you?
I'll say being celebrated for the work I've done with GhanaThink is probably my biggest win. I'm most proud about that than going to MIT, going to Stanford. Like that's my biggest win. Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I think it just comes down to just what makes me tick about trying to improve Ghana. So just being able to help grow GhanaThink from where it was to what it is today, the impact that we've made, being celebrated for it, I would say it's my biggest win.
Excellent. What is your biggest mistake?
Okay, so I studied civil engineering at MIT, and I had a choice to change my major to management from civil engineering because I had lots of different interests, and I knew I didn't want to just do stuff in the construction industry. But I decided to stick with civil engineering for my first degree because I was talking to different people about it, and that's kind of what I decided to do. So I really like that I studied engineering because I talked about how we even leverage it in GhanaThink. But I think for my master's, I probably, if I was to do it again, I would have done like a purely management related master's instead of, I did something in construction engineering management. So that I've done something purely in management and not something that's tied to construction.
How would that have changed what you're currently doing?
I think it would have helped me get to where I got to later faster, and I think it would have also helped me maybe gain access to more capital.
Name one book that changed your thinking.
I know if this would be a surprise, but I don't read as much as many people do. I know people talk about the benefits of reading. So I like to read short articles. That's me. So instead of reading like 300 pages, I like to read short articles. But a book that changed my thinking or helped me a lot, I really like Dreams from My Father by Obama. Because, I mean, I was really inspired by Obama. And the way Obama even like came into the scene was very inspirational to me, right? He was, like the Americans say, left field. He came from left field. He didn't come from an established, place. So I really liked that book.
If you had 10,000 to invest in Africa today, where would it go?
Definitely, I wouldn't invest in one thing, but I'll definitely invest in a couple of startups that I think can really make the money work. Yeah, so basically I'll put half in a couple of startups. I'll definitely put some, I'll put some in. So I use things like Achieve, is an investment platform by Petra, one of our partners. So I'll put some in Achieve. Yeah, but definitely I'll put it in investment products in a couple of startups.
Is that enough money though? At 10K?
You mean for the startups?
Right. For the startups?
Yeah, no. Well, yeah. So it's not enough money, but I think so. I've worked with several startups in the past, and sometimes some startups need just $2,000 to really unlock something in their business.
Oh wow.
So that's something I've seen and I know. So like some startup could just take $2,000 and turn it around to do a lot. Obviously, it depends on the kind of startup that you're doing, right? If they are doing something that's very capital intensive, then $2,000 won't do much of that.
Right.
But if they are doing something that especially is in a space where lots of people engage in, and someone can bring in technology or innovation to unlock more money, such a startup can take $2,000, $3,000 and do a lot with it.
So one thing that needs to change for Africa to reach its potential.
We don't have enough competent people. per capita.
Right.
So I think that's what needs to change. And one way that can change quickly is we have to see that we are part of that solution. And one of the things that there are four key things that we do at GhanaThink: networking, mentoring, volunteering, and training. And I want to talk about mentoring here. Like if we mentor more young people in Africa to have better direction, better guidance, make better decisions, learn the best things, use the best practices, it would help us, because it's those same people who are going to become customers for things that we work on. It's those same people who, because are working on some particular things, are going to ensure that we have less social vices, less people in galamsey, etc. So we have to see ourselves as part of the solution, right? So it's not just about we want to have a lot of competent people and we'll do a lot of things for us, but we have to see that if we don't contribute to that, it's going to affect what we do. So for me, I think that's what we need to do.
Can Africa ever unite as one country?
I mean, I'm a huge fan of Nkrumah, and I always say that my life goal is to be remembered like Kwame Nkrumah, to be remembered like Nelson Mandela, without ever being in politics. That's my life goal. Nkrumah and others tried to get us to unite, and there are various reasons why that didn't happen. For me, I think what we need more is economic unity. Like I'm not. It will be fine. I won't be against it if we are one country, but I think what we need is economic unity. There's no reason why in 2026 Ghanaian startups, or let me even use Liberian startups, should be struggling to set up in Ghana, or startups from Zambia should be struggling to set up in DR Congo. Like, we need to fix that economic unity, whereby regulation and policies are not barriers for us, and people can build a great business in Senegal, and because it is so good, it grows and it covers the whole continent. Because that's what happens in Europe. Like for me, that's what we need to see. Like, if we have that, we'll be good. And so in order for that to happen, obviously that one, the governments have to get involved. But I think we can force the government to do it as we continue to innovate and disrupt. If we innovate and disrupt, at some point they will have no choice. They will want to have a piece of the pie. So they will start breaking down all the barriers. So I think that's something that I would love to see. Similarly, again, this is government related, but the whole idea of infrastructure and visas is also a big deal. I always say that, like, if I'm the president of Ghana, I'm going to spend a huge chunk of the nation's budget on roads and infrastructure, just getting people to one place or the other. Because what I've seen is, and I'll give credit to Kufuor's government. Kufuor's government, when he came in after Rawlings, he tried to liberalize a lot of the private sector, and it's done a lot for our education sector. Today, there are so many great schools in Ghana that people can afford at different price points. We don't have that for healthcare. We need to see that in healthcare and across the continent. But the reason why this also exists is because people are participating in the education sector. People are investing in it because they know that people are going to pay fees for them to make their money. The one thing that citizens can't pay for or are not allowed to do is roads. So if I was leading the government, I would just spend most of the money on infrastructure, make it easy for people to move. There's no reason why we should be spending this much time in traffic. There's no reason why we should spend this much time from Accra to Kumasi. So let the private sector handle education, let them handle healthcare. Please, the one thing that we can't spend on, fix the roads, bring in the rail. Yeah.
I agree. No, that's great. I do have one final question, but I think just what you said kind of motivated me for another question that I'm thinking about. You know, you seem extremely passionate about what you're doing. You seem extremely in tune with trying to give back to Africa, trying to open up Ghana as a place where we have a lot of successful young entrepreneurs that are coming from that region. My one question to you is, what motivates you?
I think I have to go back to when I went to MIT. So I decided to do civil engineering at MIT because I knew I wanted to do engineering, but I was like, why is the infrastructure in the US so good compared to Ghana? That's the number one reason why I did civil engineering. But during my 4 years at MIT, I realized that there were certain things that I loved more, certain things that I could do better. That is what has brought me to what I do today. So for me, maybe we should go back to the 60s and what Nkrumah and co were thinking. We have underperformed.
Right.
And there's no reason why we should continue to underperform. And in my lifetime, we have to fix it. So that's what motivates me.
And now my final question, I promise this is the final this is the final question. So what I like to leave with my audience is what I call the bridge, right? The bridge is something that I want to share specific resources with them. I want it to be specific contact, specific opportunity that they could pick up and use right away and utilize as they go by their daily lives. So what is that one thing you want to leave with the audience as a bridge, something that they could, pick up and use tomorrow if they needed to?
I will say is a learning mindset. So a lot of people say learn, unlearn, relearn. So for me, that's it. I think just a learning mindset, the ability to continue learning, even if you know so much. And I think that is important no matter what you're doing, no matter what stage you are, no matter what industry you are in. It's just that continuous improvement. And that continuous improvement comes from being able to let go of some things that you know and bringing in other things that would help you do better. And the reason why I think that is important is, let's even come back to capital and funding. When I moved back to Ghana, and since I've mostly been here the last close to 15 years now, entrepreneurs will always mention that there's a lack of funding in our community or in our ecosystem. But I've always maintained that the biggest thing that people need is mentorship, not funding. Because mentorship would help people understand that if you don't have the funds yet, this is what you can do. If you don't have the investment yet, this is how you can start building revenue to get to the point where you can invest into the business. And that comes with a learning mindset. So I'll say that's the key thing. And then the second thing is productivity. I'm very, very big on productivity. I mean, lots of people who know me, who see the stuff that I do, always say, how are you able to do so much? Like, do you have 48 hours in the day? And it's down to productivity.
Right.
So I think people should learn how to become more productive. And that comes from best practices, using technology to help you do better. Even before we started talking about AI. Now, AI is there to help you to become more productive. Right. So it's making things even easier. So I think people should just learn how to be more productive with the time that they have, the resources that they have. And I mean, AI is the present. It's not the future anymore. So we have to leverage it to just do much better. I'm encouraging everybody around me to. In fact, the people in GhanaThink, I told them I think I mentioned this year that this year I'm not going to wait to learn something before I come and help you use it. As I'm learning, you're learning.
Right.
And then we are moving quicker. So yeah.
Man, Ato, this was amazing. This was excellent. I want to thank you very much for your time. A lot of jewels you've dropped here today, and I'm sure the audience will love everything you've mentioned, and hopefully we could take it from there and keep growing what you're doing and what we're doing here as well. I just want to say thank you again for your time. I really appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to more. Helping get some other great people to also share on the podcast, because good information must spread. So more of them to everyone.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.